Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Om Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswaro,
Buon compleanno di Sri Yukteswar. Cominciamo con una preghiera. Divina Madre, Celeste Padre, amico amato Dio, grandi maestri, Gesù Cristo, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahasaya, Sri Yukteswar, Paramhansa Yogananda, tutti i grandi maestri. Ci inchiniamo davanti a voi. O Sri Yukteswar, leone di Bengala, insegnami a seguire il tuo esempio.
To follow your example of clarity, of self-analysis, of cosmic vision and inner strength, great sincerity, so that I can make many steps to the divine destiny in this lifetime. Om Shanti Shanti. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this celebration of Swami Sri Yukteswar's birthday. We're also online, and so of course you all know Swami Sri Yukteswar from the Autobiography of a Yogi. So we thought, what could you like to see or hear as a celebration? Because you know Swami Sri Yukteswar was a particular person. For example, he didn't like ceremonies, celebrations. Maybe you remember in the Autobiography when Yogananda became a Swami, usually there is a celebration with fire, mantras, and this and that. And he just said, I'm against celebration. I will make you a Swami in a very simple way, and he just gave him the dress, and he didn't even give me a name. He had to choose it by himself. So what could you be pleased to know about Sri Yukteswar? That wiseness, cosmic vision is what you could enjoy this evening, and also a little bit of serious commitment. So this evening will not be as usual, but we will make a personal commitment and discipline, because you remember how tough he was with Yogananda. Total discipline. So he will be pleased with this. So we will listen to some stories, we will chant, and we will practice together with stories of autobiography, and then we will do a little celebration in a way that he will be pleased to receive with a personal commitment. So let's try to draw these blessings. Tough but beautiful. So let's start to sing. The first chant is Desire my great enemy. Page 26, if you have the booklet. Otherwise, you can read it on the screen. We're going to chant in English because there is not the Italian version. But at the end, we will say a sentence in Italian. Night and day in the joy, oh my Lord. This is a discipline so that we can start learning English. This was one of the favorite chants of Sri Yukteswar.
Prova mentre cantiamo proprio a sentire che Sri Yukteswar è con noi, che sta ascoltando.
Sri Yukteswar is present while we chant, listening to our chant and enjoying it.
Desire my great enemy, with his soldiers surrounding me. He's giving me lots of trouble. Oh my Lord, He's giving me lots of trouble. Oh my Lord, that enemy I will deceive, remaining in the castle of peace. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. What will be my fate? Oh Lord, tell me. Pranayama be thy religion. Pranayama will give thee salvation. Pranayama is the wishing tree. Pranayama is the wishing tree. Pranayama is the wishing tree. Pranayam is creator Lord. Pranayam is the cosmic word. 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 Control the little pranayam. Become all pervading pranayam. You won't have to fear anything anymore. 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 Desire, my great enemy, with his soldiers surrounding me, is giving me lots of trouble. Oh, I know. Is giving me lots of trouble. Oh, my Lord. That enemy I will deceive, remaining in the castle of peace. Night and day, I joy, oh my Lord. 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 Notte di nella gioia, oh Signore. 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 Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Night and day in thy joy, oh my Lord. Pranayam is the wishing tree. 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 Pranayam is the cosmic word. 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 You won't have to fear anything anymore. You You won't have to fear anymore. You won't have to fear anymore. You won't have to fear anymore. Night and day, night night and day, night my Lord. Night and day, night my Lord. Night and day, night my Lord. Notte di nella gioia, oh Signore. 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 Notte di nella gioia, oh Signore.
Chi di voi ha letto l'autobiografia?
Who of you read the autobiography of a yogi?
Quasi tutti. E quindi
Almost
probabilmente
everyone. So
riconoscerete queste
probably
parole.
you will recognize these words, which are from the chapter "The Years in the Ashram with My Master." If you didn't read it, maybe you can try to absorb these words. All the spiritual books are full of lessons that are still alive and that are good tips for our lives. And as Jayadev said, we took 3 important lessons from this chapter, which are gifts from Yukteswar. And we read this lesson through the words of Yogananda. It starts like this. Guruji, please. Master invited me to stop there for the night, and it was served as a dinner based with curry and vegetables, served by 2 young disciples. Then I asked Guruji, please tell me something of your life. I was squatting on a straw mat near his tiger skin. The friendly stars were very close. It seemed, beyond the balcony, my family name was 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗏. I was born here in Serampore, where father was a wealthy businessman. He left me this ancestral mansion, now my hermitage. My formal schooling was little. I found it slow and shallow. In early manhood, I undertook the responsibilities of a householder and have 1 daughter now married. My middle life was blessed with the guidance of Lahiri Mahasaya. After my wife died, I joined the Swami order and received the new name of Sri Yukteswar Giri. Such are my simple annals. Master smiled at my eager face. Like all biographical sketches, his words had given the outward facts without revealing the inner man. Guruji, I would like to hear some stories of your childhood. I will tell you a few, each one with a moral. And now prepare to receive the first lesson. Sri Yukteswar's eyes twinkled while with his warning. My mother once tried tried to frighten me with an appalling story of a ghost in a dark chamber. I went there immediately and expressed my disappointment at having missed the ghost. Mother never told me another horror tale. Moral: look fear in the face, and it will cease to trouble you. So now it's our turn. Please close your eyes, sit with your spine straight, and Sri Yukteswar will be very proud of us now, looking at us, sitting still. Keep your gaze up to the point between the eyebrows, and take in front of you, take before you the strongest fear you have. With all your courage and strength, look in the eyes of your fear. And try to feel that as much as you look at it, and as much it dissolves. Stay still, because Sri Yukteswar is checking you. And like the chant said, you don't have to fear anything anymore. I bow to this great lion, this Gyan Avatar Swami Sri Yukteswar. I didn't prepare a speech because somehow I didn't have time to, but the energy of Sri Yukteswar is so strong in here in the temple. So I invite you to stay in connection with this great soul. He was born, as you know, in 1855 in Calcutta, a little bit out of Calcutta, which was a place where West and East gathered together somehow. Calcutta was the site of the Indian Company, and also some different thoughts gathered together. So in this environment, many masters were born, not also Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Ananda Moima, and many others that we find in the autobiography. It was here in the area of Calcutta. Somehow it was a divine plan to launch a message of union between these two thoughts for the whole world. For India, who had to learn something about being practical and rational, and for the Western world, who had to learn this inner communion, this inner world, this inner yogic world, which is yoga. And that, so thanks to Sri Yukteswar and Yogananda, yoga is now everywhere. Swami Sri Yukteswar, if we want to go to the core of his energy, ambition, and consciousness in one word, it was the search of Sat, the truth. When he was a child, since he was a child, he wanted to search, to find the truth. He didn't stop. It was not enough for him to listen to some philosophy. He ridiculized. There is a story when he was a student, a pandit who is a wise man who talked about the Sanskrit scriptures, and he mentioned some quotes. And when someone asked for the meaning of these quotes, he just said, "Oh, it's not important the meaning. If it is said in the scripture, this is the truth." And Swami Sri Yukteswar said, "I don't like this approach." So he wanted to do a trick and said, "Okay, next time." So the next time that Pandit started to talk, this Pandit, so Sri Yukteswar started to recite a poetry in Sanskrit, so to ridiculize what the Pandit said, and so Sri Yukteswar had to run away, and the Pandit was running after him. And so Swami Sri Yukteswar said, we don't have to be proud of the scriptures, but we have to be able to go deep to the truth and to learn to discriminate. So his childhood, and like a young man, he went everywhere searching for the truth until in Benares, in the holy city, he found Lahiri Mahasaya, his own guru. And through the key of Kriya Yoga, in few years, he reached the realization of Sat, the nirvikalpa samadhi, the final union with cosmic consciousness. But then there is another moment, very important in his life. You know the autobiography, of course, when one day there was a Kumbh Mela, you know what it is. Still nowadays is the biggest gathering of people on the earth, and it's true. Maybe like 30 million of people near Benares, near Varanasi, they gather together to celebrate these saints, holy men, yogis who comes from the Himalayas and everywhere. Also in 1892 there was a Kumbh Mela as well. And Sri Yukteswar, who had this discriminating mind, somehow he criticized these fake saints, sadhus who were there, and he thought maybe it's better, maybe the modern Western scientists are better than this, because through their knowledge and rationality they can create good things for the whole humanities. They can create a better life, which is better than these people asking for money along the street, doing nothing the whole day, until he feels a touch on his shoulder, and a young sannyas tells him, "Come with me, my master wants to see you." And he feels, Yukteswar feels something, so he followed this young man, and until he reached a circle of saints, sannyas, who were sitting around a young yogi, sitting in Padmasana. He sat together with them, and this young master tells him, I know that your heart is beating for the whole humanity, and is not only beating for India, but it's much more wider. So I want you to write a book where you explain the union between among all the religions, the Vedic culture and the Christian religion. And he also gave him the title of Swami, even if he was still a married man. He had a daughter. You know the story. So from this encounter, a few months later, he ended writing the book, The Holy Science, of which Ranjit later on will talk about it. So, but now I just want to say, I want to summarize this book, which is for all of us. It's hard to understand, but it contains the whole yogic path, the Vedic path, the whole path of the human soul until the cosmic union is here in the words of this book. So it's worth to go into that. I want to share with you something that touched me deeply. When you open this book, of course, at first it tells about the yugas, but then there is a chapter. Everything is Brahman, everything is God, absolute God. And then it says something strange. Time, space, and the atom and the Om are the same thing. And all in all, they're not real, they're only ideas. And so up to that point, I could understand until that time and space are ideas, but what has the atom and Om got to do with this? So I leave this to you so that in the next decades you can meditate on this. I'm meditating on this topic since decades, and it always comes up to me, this thing. At the beginning of the book it says, everything is nothing else than an idea. The whole world is only an idea. The suffering, it is so brilliant in the description of the thought. Suffering comes from ignorance, avidya. Ignorance is when you perceive what is false and you take it for real. And knowledge, vidya, is when you see the real for the real. To see the fake for the real is when you see this world which is not real, the atom, the Om, time and space. You live in the ignorance when you think that this world of appearance of Maya, like they say, it's real. And you don't see that behind there is Parabrahman, the truth, the absolute truth. This is the truth. So the whole book just explains how can we step out from suffering and going back to the absolute. He says that there are two main strengths, attraction and repulsion. Until you have attraction or repulsion for this world of Maya, you are in suffering, and until when you feel attraction, love for the absolute, then you enter the path to liberation. So like a 𝗕𝗓𝗩𝗘𝗧, this book is half of the book talks about love, how to remove the shades from the heart, to be baptized in the flow of the Om, so that we can reconnect to the Absolute until at the very end you become a sannyas, a man of God. This in very few brilliant words. So I suggest you to read it. The whole teaching of Yogananda, it's like zipped into this book. You can open the book and you can extract the whole teaching of Yogananda within these few words of Sri Yukteswar. Many tell that Sri Yukteswar was very tough, and like Yogananda describes, and as Jayadev said, but he also had another phase. About 30 years ago, and the nephew of Yogananda came here, and he knew Sri Yukteswar because he went to the house of Yogananda's father, because Yogananda's father and Sri Yukteswar were Guru Bhais. Both they had the same Guru, Lahiri Mahasaya. So sometimes they met each other, and Sri Yukteswar. And so Hare Krishna Ghosh said that he could hear the tak-tak of his stick. And here we also have the relic, which is the stick of Sri Yukteswar. And when he entered the house, he was very joyful. And he told to the children, guess what do I have in my pockets? He had sweets and candies, and all the kids were all around him. So he had this very sweet aspect with people who were not his disciples. With his disciples, he was more tough, definitely, very tough. He was a 𝗕𝗓𝗩𝗘𝗧. Very often it is thought that Jnana Yoga is something about mind, studying. But Jnana Yoga, in the highest meaning, is to discern, it is to discriminate what is true, sat, divine, and what is not true. And everything that moves and that is not permanent, that is constantly changing, is not real. So until your perception finds the very center of your perception, you will find the center of calmness. So Sri Yukteswar removed from his disciples all the vibration, all the oscillations, everything which was not real, which was ignorance, everything which was not anchored in the truth, he removed from them. That's why very few stayed with him to the end. There is also another story. When Yogananda went in America, in 1920, you have to imagine that nobody knew anything about yoga and the yogic culture. Nowadays, meditation, karma, yoga are common words, but at that time, everything was totally new. So somehow Yogananda had to attract people to his speech. So he did a lot of strange things. For example, in the 20s, he showed that a doctor measured the pulse on one side and on the other side, and he was able to stop one pulse and not the other, or stop the heartbeat somehow. Or with this big belly, he asked to strong men to push against him, and indeed they couldn't move him. And with the movement of a belly, he just pushed away big, strong men. And the voice arrived to Sri Yukteswar, and people said, "Oh, what is he doing? He's doing this kind of show." More or less. And when Yogananda went back to India in the 1936-37, and you can feel the different approach between the two. And Yogananda saw that the ashram was very poor because Sri Yukteswar didn't give importance to the appearance, and that there was a very old carpet. There was also a tile from the roof which was going to fall, and all the disciples had to walk around in a large circle because there was the risk for this tile to fall down in every moment. So Yogananda said, "Oh, we have to fix it, to fix this tile." And Yukteswar said, "No, it will stay up there until my body is there. It will be here, the tile will be there." And actually the tile fell down the day he left the body. And then Yogananda wanted to buy a new carpet for Sri Yukteswar, and he said, "No, that is your word, not mine." But Yogananda had to enter the external world, to do his duty, to do everything he had to do, while Sri Yukteswar's work was merely an inner work to reach the consciousness of truth. So this is everything I have to share. Thank you.
Adesso, visto che facciamo un altro canto preferito di Sri Yukteswar.
Let's chant. This chant is now the most favorite one of Sri Yukteswar, which is 𝗕𝗜𝗙𝗪𝗔𝗍𝗪, and this would be in Italian. This chant was the favorite one because he wanted to reawaken the saint within any people.
Oh, di là.
You can read the words.
Oh mio se svegliati, santo se risvegliati, oh mio se risvegliati, santo se risvegliati, santo se, senza meditare, senza concentrarti, senza meditare, senza concentrarti tu non troverai il suo amore. Oh mio se, svegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se. Tu non sai il giorno quando la morte ti prenderà per mano, non c'è tempo da sprecare, svegliati. Oh santo se, oh mio se, svegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo 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 se. Tu non sai, senza meditare, senza concentrarti, senza meditare, senza concentrarti, tu non troverai il suo amore. Oh mio se, svegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, sai il giorno quando la morte ti prenderà per mano, non c'è tempo da sprecare, svegliati, oh santo se, oh mio se, svegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, santo se, risvegliati, oh mio se, risvegliati, santo 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 se.
This is the second story. Another early memory is my wish for an ugly dog belonging to a neighbor. I kept my household in turmoil for weeks to get that dog. My ears were deaf to offer pets with more prepossessing appearance. Moral: attachment is blinding. It lends an imaginary halo of attractiveness to the object of desire. So please sit with your spine straight and feel the presence of Yukteswar at your side, who watched over you and he doesn't want you to move your body. Gaze up to the spiritual eye once more. And try to think of an attachment, the strongest attachment you have. And through the wiseness of your soul, dissolve this attachment. Nothing is yours. Nobody is yours. And if it is a person, it doesn't mean that you will not love that person, but you will love in a different way, in a more divine way. You will love this person, dissolve the attachment. Because nobody is yours, nothing is yours. And take 2 minutes to stay still, motionless, and look at the spiritual eye. Watch at your attachment and dissolve it. this way, Sri Yukteswar is proud of you.
It's always so interesting when we talk about Sri Yukteswar that everyone talks about his sternness and his severity and his discipline. But I feel the way that Shantidev was talking about.
Ma io lo sento più nel modo in cui Shantidev ne ha parlato.
Because I met, quote unquote, Sri Yukteswar long before I came to Ananda.
Perché io, fra virgolette, ho incontrato Sri Yukteswar molto tempo prima di arrivare ad Ananda.
But of course I didn't know who he was.
Ma non sapevo chi
Yet.
fosse ancora.
But it was in the very beginning of my spiritual life.
Era molto all'inizio della mia ricerca spirituale, della mia vita spirituale.
And I came in through Hatha Yoga.
E ho iniziato con l'Hatha Yoga.
And I had a very good teacher. This was all happening in New York. I had a very good teacher, and I was religiously doing my yoga every day.
E questo succedeva a New York, avevo un insegnante molto bravo e io religiosamente facevo la mia pratica di Hatha Yoga tutti i giorni.
And slowly, it became a little more formalized, if you will, for want of a better word.
Finché pian piano è diventato, non so dirlo meglio, un po' troppo formale.
I created an altar. I would never have called it an altar, but I created a little altar.
Ho creato un altare, non sapevo al tempo che fosse un altare, ma l'ho creato.
I put flowers and candles and like that.
Sul quale ho messo dei fiori, delle candele, cose di questo genere.
And on the wall behind the little crate with a shawl over it that was my altar, I started to put pictures.
E dietro il muro, dietro questo scialle su cui avevo messo queste cose, dietro sul muro ho attaccato delle fotografie.
And I did my yoga in front of it.
E quindi
This was all very natural from inside out.
e praticavo lo yoga davanti a questa sorta di altare, era per me una cosa molto naturale, molto spontanea.
So some of these pictures I knew who the people were and some I didn't.
E delle fotografie che avevo attaccate sul muro, alcuni sapevo chi fossero, altri no.
And it was only that they drew me and I bought a picture.
Io compravo le fotografie soltanto di coloro che mi attraevano in qualche modo.
I felt inspired or magnetized by the pictures.
Semplicemente mi sentivo magnetizzata o ispirata dalla fotografia.
And this is the picture I had of Sri Yukteswar
E
right here.
esattamente questa foto era la foto che avevo sul muro di Sri Yukteswar.
And he looked so noble and dharmic to me, very clear and powerful.
E io in questa foto vedevo la sua nobiltà, il suo dharma, il suo essere chiaro,
But it was the nobility that drew me.
ma soprattutto quello che mi ha attratto è stata proprio questa nobiltà.
It feels like such a powerful aspect of the life of a yogi,
Che-
nobility.
Che è un aspetto importante della vita di uno yogi.
No idea who he was.
Non avevo idea di chi fosse.
So when I came to Ananda
E poi, quando sono arrivata ad Ananda,
and I saw him on the altar, I was like, that's my, and I didn't know what to say, mine, that's mine.
e l'ho visto sull'altare, e sono arrivata ad Ananda, l'ho visto sull'altare e ho detto, ma lui è il mio, e non sapevo mio cosa, era mio e basta.
But it was so uplifting for me to see him on the altar. I have no words. It was magical.
E per me era così elevante, così magico vederlo su quell'altare, non avevo parole per questo.
And because of the way he looks, and his name, the Lion of Bengal, I later learned, he looks, in English we say leonine, and it means like a lion.
E noi sappiamo, dopo ho saputo che lui veniva chiamato anche il leone del Bengala, in effetti ha questo aspetto leonino.
And I thought, he looks like a Leo, right? A lion.
E quindi io,
Leone.
prima ancora di saperlo, pensavo dentro di me che lui somigliasse ad un leone.
So I was delighted to learn he was a Taurus, because I'm a Taurus.
Ed ero così deliziata dal sapere che fosse del segno del toro, perché anch'io sono del toro.
So there is such a deep closeness to Sri Yukteswar in my heart, very deep.
Nel mio cuore c'è una forte connessione, vicinanza con Sri Yukteswar.
And also, of course, for all the masters. I mean, we're very lucky here with all the masters we have, wisdom and, you know, the lifestyle of yoga, spiritualizing your life. Mahavatar, the great avatar. We have wisdom, we have love, a Prem avatar. We have it all. We have everything.
Siamo così fortunati ad avere così tanti maestri, quindi io ho nel cuore lui, ma anche tutti gli altri. Siamo così fortunati perché ognuno di loro incarna un aspetto. C'è Lahiri Mahasaya che ci ha mostrato la via della vita di uno yogi, poi abbiamo la saggezza, l'amore, il prema di Yogananda.
And there's such trust for these masters, and I think especially he feels like the father to me. You know, the father that you can completely trust, totally trust.
Io sento così tanta fiducia perché lui ha questo aspetto anche così paterno, lui sembra un padre nel quale puoi avere fiducia totale.
He's always going to lead you down the absolute right path.
Lui è quel padre che ti conduce verso la direzione che è quella assolutamente più giusta per te.
So in the holy science that Shantidev referenced and held,
E nel libro La scienza sacra che prima Shantidev ha menzionato,
Sri Yukteswar does go out there quite a bit in the beginning.
all'inizio del libro fa una descrizione abbastanza, come dire, ampia, va un po'...
It's very cosmic.
Sì, va molto nel cosmo, esatto, molto cosmico.
And because he is an incarnation of wisdom, he's a Gyan avatar, he doesn't leave it there. He talks to you, me, individually.
Ma nonostante questo, proprio perché lui è un Gyan avatar, un avatar di saggezza, in realtà nel libro è molto, non rimane lì su quel livello, in realtà è molto diretto, parla a te, parla a me.
So we're out there, but how does that relate to me? What do I do every day?
Quindi anche se il libro va fuori nel cosmo, in realtà è molto riferito a me e a quello che posso fare io ogni giorno.
And again, as Shantidev said, Sri Yukteswar is very concise and very specific.
E di nuovo, come Shantidev ha detto, Sri Yukteswar è molto preciso, molto conciso e molto specifico.
We have to get rid of the 8 meannesses of the heart.
Noi dice che noi dobbiamo liberarci delle 8 meschinità del cuore.
Now, we hear about the 8 meannesses of the heart a lot when we talk about Sri Yukteswar and the holy science.
Quando sentiamo parlare di Sri Yukteswar e della scienza sacra, sentiamo tanto parlare di queste 8 meschinità del cuore.
Do you know the 8 meannesses?
Le conoscete?
Read them out for us, my dear. I have them in English, but you can just read them.
I just go? Ok.
Yes, just go.
Quindi queste 8 meschinità del cuore sono odio, vergogna, paura, dolore, condanna, pregiudizio di razza, orgoglio del pedigree, orgoglio di casta, meglio, stretto senso di rispettabilità.
So they're very, very clear what they are. And he tells us we need to get rid of them. If we want to find God, we need to get rid of the 8 meannesses of the heart.
Quindi sono molto chiare, molto precise e lui dice molto chiaramente che se vogliamo trovare Dio dobbiamo liberarci da queste 8 meschinità del cuore.
And then he tells us how to get rid of them.
E poi ci dice anche come liberarci da queste.
Anybody know?
Nessuno di voi lo sa?
Anybody know how we get rid of them?
Nessuno di voi sa come liberarsene?
Well, he prefaces how we get rid of them by stating, we need moral vigor, moral courage.
Lui inizia dicendo che abbiamo bisogno per farlo di vigore morale, di coraggio morale.
And how do we get moral courage?
E come facciamo ad avere coraggio morale?
Anybody?
Qualcuno?
I just want to know if people are, because here's why I'm bringing it up. We often talk about the 8 meannesses. We state what they are and that we don't want them.
Sto insistendo su questo perché noi spesso parliamo delle 8 meschinità del cuore e diciamo cosa sono e diciamo che non le vogliamo.
But we don't talk about what to do about them.
Ma non parliamo di come fare.
As if Sri Yukteswar doesn't talk about it, but he does.
Come se Sri Yukteswar non spiegasse come fare, ma lui invece lo fa.
He says we have to live the yamas and the niyamas. That is how you develop moral vigor and moral courage.
Vivendo i principi degli yama e niyama, allora si può conseguire vigore morale e coraggio morale.
Remember, the holy science is about Patanjali.
Questa è la scienza di Patanjali.
And so he tells us that when you work on the yamas and the niyamas every day, you develop openness of heart. He uses the English word magnanimity. It's quite a word,
sure.
but it means magnanimous.
Quindi lui dice che lavorando con gli yama e niyama ogni giorno della nostra vita apriamo il cuore e riusciamo a raggiungere quella magnanimità nel cuore.
And until the heart is really open in this way, even meditation is not going to take you very far.
E lui dice che finché il nostro cuore non raggiunge questa apertura, anche la meditazione non può portarti così tanto lontano.
So our behavior, he doesn't quite say it out there, but he's implying our behavior is equally as important as our sadhana, meditation.
Lui non lo dice chiaramente, ma è chiaro, si evince da quello che dice, cioè lui dice che di fatto il nostro comportamento è importante tanto quanto la sadhana.
Because our behavior affects our meditation.
Perché il nostro comportamento in qualche modo tocca la nostra meditazione, ha un'influenza sulla
And it's
meditazione.
yama and niyama that create that magnanimous heart that then deepens your meditation, deepens all your inner work as well as your outer life.
E quindi quando si raggiunge questo cuore magnanimo, allora è possibile andare più in profondità nella meditazione, quindi più in profondità dentro, tanto quanto fuori.
And often I think we forego, we neglect.
Io a volte penso che noi neghiamo,
We neglect our behavior and comportment over our meditation and inner work.
mettiamo in secondo piano il nostro comportamento rispetto al lavoro interiore.
But he is saying they go hand in hand. If you develop yama niyama, you're developing your meditation and vice versa.
Ma in realtà vanno mano nella mano, perché se tu sviluppi gli yama e niyama stai sviluppando anche la tua meditazione, vanno insieme.
I hope it's clear because it's very profound when you're reading. You get little insights into because you think the heart is the be-all and end-all of the holy science. He talks about love in the beginning, and he talks about, I hope I've proven that love is the way you do this at the end.
Spero che sia chiaro, perché è qualcosa di molto profondo, è qualcosa che può non essere così chiaro durante la lettura. Ogni tanto, se leggi attentamente questo libro, puoi avere proprio dei piccoli insight tra le righe, fra le cose che leggi. E in realtà questo libro parla moltissimo di amore. Comincia con l'amore and it ends with love at the beginning.
He starts
with
and
love.
he ends
Quindi,
with love.
quindi inizia e finisce con l'amore.
You know, at the end he says, I hope I've proven that love is the only way to find God.
Lui conclude dicendo: io spero che abbiate capito che l'amore è l'unico modo per trovare Dio.
So the power of this little book is how he moves you through the evolution of someone, a seeker, that wants to find God.
E la particolarità, l'unicità di questo libro è che è proprio una guida per il ricercatore spirituale che lo porta proprio passo dopo passo alla via, alla meta per raggiungere l'unione con
And then,
Dio.
of course, he talks about the heart specifically, where he says, I think it's a dark heart first, which is somebody that's not a seeker and is just overcome with Maya. Maya is the life.
E lui inizia parlando di qualcuno che ha il cuore oscuro, qualcuno che è completamente sopraffatto da Maya, perché Maya vive completamente immerso nella Maya.
And the propelled heart, which is all of us, which is someone that has decided, I want to find God and I want to do what it will take to find God.
E invece il cuore di chi, come noi, ha deciso di intraprendere questo cammino verso Dio e dice a se stesso farò qualsiasi cosa per arrivare lì.
And then the steady heart is someone that is closer to the goal, is turned away now from Maya. We are still influenced by Maya, the propelled heart, but the steady heart, no.
E il livello successivo è chi ha raggiunto il livello del cuore calmo, chi ha già superato il livello di Maya, mentre nel livello precedente ancora c'è questo coinvolgimento con Maya. Quando si raggiunge il cuore calmo, a quel punto si è usciti dal gioco della Maya.
And then the devoted heart.
E poi c'è il cuore devoto.
The devoted heart understands the true nature of Maya and is no longer influenced by it.
Che comprende la vera natura di Maya e non ne è più influenzato.
Just like Mary Poppins, the devoted heart is almost practically perfect.
Come Mary Poppins, questo cuore devoto è almost, please repeat it, almost?
Practically perfect.
È quasi praticamente perfetto.
Mary Poppins says that about herself.
Che Mary Poppins lo diceva di se stessa.
And then finally, the clean heart. What a beautiful image.
E l'ultimo livello è il cuore pulito.
The clean heart is a completely open heart and is able, therefore, to completely draw into God, not just close to God, but into God.
E questo, il cuore pulito, è quel cuore che è capace di raggiungere Dio, di immergersi in Dio.
And he says a beautiful thing about the clean heart, Sri Yukteswar.
E Yukteswar dice una bella cosa a proposito del cuore pulito.
He says we don't just reflect the spiritual light anymore. We manifest the spiritual light.
Dice questo cuore non riflette più la luce divina, la manifesta.
And so he gives us literally a step-by-step how-to of the spiritual life and taking it seriously and living it seriously. Seriously, of course.
E quindi questo libro è veramente una guida che ci porta passo dopo passo a raggiungere la meta seriamente, seriamente come possiamo vedere anche dalla foto.
But also with great, great love.
Ma anche con grande, grande amore.
Love for God in each other, love for the spiritual journey.
L'amore per Dio negli altri e l'amore per il viaggio spirituale.
And doing whatever it will take to find the truth, just as he did.
E fare qualunque cosa sia necessaria per trovare Dio proprio come ha fatto lui.
So again, looking at the gurus, it's so easy to, what do I need today? Do I need discipline? Do I need wisdom? Do I need love? Do I need peace? Do I need, what do I need? And we have a guru that will help us to do that. So
siamo così fortunati ad avere tutti questi maestri, perché se possiamo chiederci di che cosa ho bisogno oggi. Ho bisogno di saggezza, ho bisogno di amore, ho bisogno di disciplina. Semplicemente chiediamo di che cosa ho bisogno oggi, c'è il guru che ci dà questa qualità.
Thank you, Sri Yukteswar.
Quindi grazie, Sri Yukteswar. So I wanted to repeat something that was already said about personality of Sri Yukteswar, who people said he was strong, tough, toward the disciples and people. But in truth, my feeling is that, and like also Yogananda said, Sri Yukteswar had a very subtle knife to touch the point which had to be cut so that you could reach God in the fastest way. He was a kind of surgeon. He did surgery to help your life. Imagine if you have a pain in a tooth, what would you think in your life daily? To God, good things. No, you have this strong pain. And so if you're in pain, you got far away from God consciousness. So Sri Yukteswar is the doctor who has who removes with strength this tooth, and he's not bad because he wants you to suffer, but he wants to remove the tooth of ignorance which takes you far from God. This is Sri Yukteswar, the cosmic doctor. Once I was in Calcutta at Master's house, Yogananda's house, and that time his nephew was still alive, Hare Krishna Ghosh, who was the son of Yogananda's brother. He told me that when Master left India to go to America, Sri Yukteswar every month visit Yogananda's family at their house. So I asked him, how was Sri Yukteswar? Because, everybody says so tough. And he told me, oh, he was so kind, so sweet with everybody. He was very loving. He had a very loving nature. But if he wanted to be his disciple, then he turned it completely, and he became the cosmic doctor with his knife. He cut your ego because he wanted to drive you to God in the fastest way. But how many people are willing to find God and to destroy, to allow someone to destroy their own ego to find God? Very few. That's why Sri Yukteswar had very few disciples, because it was too strong. He was too strong. Because most of the people want to feel. They don't want to be scolded. They want to feel that they are doing good, doing well. That's why Sri Yukteswar told Yogananda, you have to go to America, because if I go, I will have very, very few disciples. So, like Shantidev said about the holy signs, very slowly, very shortly, Sri Yukteswar was in Allahabad at the Kumbh Mela in 1894, and he met Babaji, and he bowed to his feet, and Babaji told him, hello, Swamiji, and Sri Yukteswar replied, I'm not a Swami. And Babaji said, to the ones that I say Swami, nobody can reject this title. And Sri Yukteswar felt such a strong vibration in his body, and so he bowed at his feet, and it was his first meeting with Babaji. Babaji told him, I perceived your desire, for the Western world, this care for these people, and it's very important. And Sri Yukteswar said, yes, I think these people, this population need huge help, and I also appreciate the practical aspect of their life. And so Babaji said it would be great to mix together the spirituality of the Eastern world to the rationality of the Western one. And so I will send you a disciple that you can teach. You can give him your teaching, and you will send him in America so that he can share the ancient technique of Kriya Yoga. And so it was. And again, he called him Swami. You write down this book in which you compare the different aspects of religions, especially the Vedic scriptures and Christianity, and show that both go in the same direction, because many young people fight affirming that their own religion is the right one, and this way the truth will be lost. And Sri Yukteswar accepted, and in 1894, in very few months, he wrote this book inspired by Babaji. It's a little bit late, so I don't go further. So after he wrote the Holy Science, he also wrote a book in French. Really? A master knows everything and also remembers his previous lifetimes. So Sri Yukteswar, he was Italian around the year 1000. He was born in Pavia in Italy. He was part of a group desire of knowledge also at that time. And he traveled in Europe and he stopped in Normandy. And that time there were William the Conqueror, who and so he took from the cosmic light. He took the French language. This book was lost, but this just to show that a master knows everything in every moment. Through his superconscious can enter in any dimension and take the information that he needs. You know, our scientists study only from the mind level, and while a wise man enter in the atom and they become the atom, so they don't study it. They can be that and they can understand it. That's why he wrote the Holy Science and go deep. It's not easy to understand this book because you cannot understand it through your mind. You have to enter that state and feeling what is the vibration, energy, chakras, the highest level of the cosmos. How can you understand through your mind if you don't experience it? And this is what the 𝗕𝗏𝗡𝗃 did. This is the end of the evening. Let's share another moment with Sri Yukteswar. Under your chair there is a quote for you from Sri Yukteswar. Read this quote, which is for you. Now please sit with your spine straight and once more try to stay at His presence, like if He's telling you don't move a finger, don't move any part of your body, gaze up. And try to see, to feel how can you apply these words, this quote to your life sincerely. And for 1 minute, for the one who are online, I tell you a quote. You all here meditate on your life. Yukteswar says, also when the flesh is weak, your mind should resist strongly. If temptation is inside of you strongly, overcome it through a clear analysis and a very strong will. Any instinctual passion can be overcome. This is for you online. Look at your spiritual eye, meditate on your life. How can you apply these words? Now, please come here to the altar with your candle. You can switch it on. And come here in front of Sri Yukteswar and offer your candle the Indian way. You can use the bell, and then this way you can offer your candle and mentally tell him, I promise to practice or to do this or that, whatever you feel. I promise that I will do what is written on a little card while we chant Sri Yukteswar.
Swami Sri Yukteswar 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Sri Yukteswar Sri Yukteswar Sri Yukteswar Sri Yukteswar Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, 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 Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri Yukteswaro, Sri
Keep your eyes closed, spine straight, legs Yukteswar legs. Feel his presence at your side and feel the blessings that he showered upon you this evening. He blessed you with power, courage, wiseness, love, and a lot of inner strength for your growth. Feel that you're full of his vibrations. And then let's chant 3 ohms to send the roar of this lion of Bengal, the whole world. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. 𝗕𝗩𝗘𝗡𝗧 ki jai.